Call planning and zoning meeting to order. Do we have roll call, please?
Hankins.
Here.
Bowersox.
Here.
Sires.
Here.
Olfest.
Here.
Vogel.
Here.
Prignitz.
Here.
Would like approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It's approved. Any public comments from anybody in the audience who's not on the agenda tonight? Nope. Okay. You're on the agenda.
They're on the agenda.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to item number 5, approval of P&Z Commission meeting minutes for April 18, 2020. Motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from March 22nd.
18, 2022. You got it.
Okay.
Got the 22nd. Need a second. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's approved. Item number 6, recommend council approve the site plan for the Move Youth Community Center. Is there anybody who would like to address commission, first? Okay. Kathleen,
Oh,
care to say anything?
yeah, I guess I was kind of running through it. Essentially, this is a site plan for the renovation and reuse of the old church that was an old church, and it was a Lakeside Fellowship Church, and then Fredborough Funeral Home, and for a very short amount of time, and then now they're proposing to use it for Move Youth Community Center. Project includes obviously remodeling the building itself. The building elevations were in your packet, so they are doing some upgrades to those building elevations and adding new signage, and then doing some slight changes in some of the materials on the building. They're using all stories of the building. I don't know if you want to describe what the building's going to have in it. They're also adding a sidewalk on 3rd Street and 80 ramps at the intersection. And they're adding a trench drain to pick up the runoff from the parking lot that currently runs toward West Wood Street. And they're adding a little island with some plant materials to define where the center stalls are, which is per Sudas. They're adding a fence along the shared property line with the old parsonage is next door, putting up a wrought iron fence there and some landscaping in front of it. The site plans addressed all of staff's comments. We just would recommend approval based on provision of a recorded copy of the record of lot tie agreement. This property is in a series of parcels, and we just kind of want to get them all tied together so it's one property, and it also ties that vacant land to the south along 3rd Street to this property. South.
No, I didn't.
Away from the square. And a right-of-way permit has been reviewed by the Public Works Director. Get that signed as well before council, and that there wouldn't be any temporary or permanent certificates of occupancy until all the site plan elements are addressed or there's an agreement to typical of their site plans. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. They did provide the traffic memo with a scope that was prepared by our traffic engineers and reviewed by our traffic engineers. So, and they didn't have any specific, recommendation. I should mention that they're going to be providing parking lot lighting. They did look at safe pedestrian access and those things. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that people would like to add? Okay.
That was pretty much it. You'll notice on the site plan, we discussed some of this when we were here for the usage change for zoning, but the main area will be for, that's where the main gaming tables and will be where the offices will be a small concessions, like snack area for kids to get stuff if they need it, and also tables for board games, and a little bit quieter area for people that don't want to be in louder games. The loft will be used for birthday parties and things like that that people can rent. The basement will have a space that can be used as a community room that we'll rent out. It'll have a kitchen. And then there will be a craft art space and also a photo space, as well as 2 meeting rooms that people can use for tutoring or things.
Is this a profit or nonprofit organization?
In theory, it's a profit, but that's not why we're doing it.
There will be a cover charge just to help keep the doors open, but
Okay.
making a large profit will not be our goal.
Okay. And you're going to manage it, or do you have a manager, or
Sure.
Yep, I
you're
will
gonna,
be the
you're gonna be the manager?
And eventually we will develop the green space as well, but our main goal right now is to get the building up and running so that
Okay.
kids have somewhere to go.
The 11 o'clock Saturday night with neighbors is a concern for me. Is there a possibility of agreeing to reducing that to maybe 10 o'clock? Or is that not a feasible thing?
The hours are not set. That's just kind of what we have had an idea of what we'll do. If it was an issue, we'd be open to backing it up. I would like to try to keep it open later, just because I don't want to close at 10 and then all the kids just move to the square anyway, because they don't have to go home yet.
Yeah. Do we have any control over the hours of this?
I mean, from a noise ordinance perspective, but
And what's the noise ordinance?
10 p.m.,
10 p.m.
7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
But I think the minor curfew is what she's referencing, and I believe that's 11.
Okay.
Which just means they have to be home by 11.
Okay. And that's 7 days a week, right?
I would have to look at the code to be sure
Okay.
on that particular piece. The noise is 7 days a week. The minor curfew might be different on Fridays and Saturdays, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to look at our code book.
So I just be sure you comply with that.
Yep.
So I guess we don't have any restrictions as far as hours for you. We know you're doing a nice thing for the community, and we know that you'll be courteous in that respect. We also know that if it does get noisy, and even in your parking lot, that somebody will hear about it from the police.
Absolutely.
Okay. Other questions?
I had just a comment and then a question. On your review comments, first item there, it talked about that had 10 head-in stalls, it says South Wood Street, but that would be Second Street, right?
Oh, did I? Yes, I'm sorry.
I don't know the
Yep.
deal, but
Yep,
just for
no,
the record.
second, yep.
And then the question I had for you guys was the sign, the funeral home sign, are you gonna be using that? I see it's still,
The lit
oh,
one?
that's
No.
going away.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'll go away.
that's perfect.
No,
All right.
it'll be, I think there was a rendering of some sort in there.
Yeah, of the front of the building.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Not
That's,
just the front of the building.
There'll be a
there's-
front,
Yeah.
we will keep the post,
oh, okay.
and we'll put just a metal
Oh,
sign in between them.
okay.
It won't have
we
any
won't
obnoxious
do-
neon lighting.
It won't be
Yeah.
lit.
Yeah, it was pretty bright, I know before, so that was my own question, yeah. It's a nice plan. I like.
And I just have a question more for staff and the commissioners. I guess just one comment about the plan as well. These folks appreciate the bike rack. So appreciate that's there.
That's,
and-
yeah, we wanna have 2 of them, cause I was like, if I know my kid, like, we're gonna have one on one side of the building, cause I said, my kids will drop their bike wherever they're at, they're not gonna walk it all the way around. So, it's better to have them
appreciate
spaced out,
that.
yeah.
And then question, I guess, for staff and the commission is, I'm still getting confused what our plan is for the 3rd Street bike recreational trail. So further south on 3rd Street, you know, where the new townhomes are up on the hill. We have bike trail along the east side of Third Street. And then it kind of gets into residential property that we're, you know, going to consider converting at some point. And, you know, what is the plan for that trail? If it is to continue down Third Street, then I think we should have a plan for this property to at least have land reserved for it being widened to a rec trail at some point.
The plan is for the trail to be on the west side of the street.
Okay.
So the one that's in front of like the Cross Oak Roads Townhomes is going to have a crosswalk at the next street probably.
Okay.
Just,
At
you know, at some,
the top of the hill and the curve.
well, we'll have to figure out the best location for that. We've looked at a couple spots. I don't know that a specific location's been pinned down for that.
Okay. And there's.
But it will be on the west side. And I will caution you though, that will be probably an 8-foot trail as opposed to 10, just because of this. There's not a lot of room there. There's those retaining walls, so.
And we have the alternative route on the north side of the new bank that we just talked about last month. That will go down the hill through Deer Haven and be a good route to downtown as well.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to have us miss something if the plan was to have it there. So.
Yeah, they're showing a 5-foot sidewalk, which is, you know, sidewalks got bumped up to 5 foot now in terms of city code, so they're showing that, but the trail itself.
Thanks. Now I know the plan.
Is there a plan, or do we have any teeth to make the sidewalk by Papa's go in
We've discussed that as something that we have to keep
from there this way?
Yeah, we'll have to just watch that as we start seeing how people are actually getting to their facility. So it's on the radar, I guess, I'll put it that way.
I have a couple more questions about access for ADA. You have a platform in here, and it doesn't look like there's access for handicap to that platform. Is that
Which platform?
There will be,
Well, it's-
similar to now, how there's a ramp going up on the deck. When we expand the deck has a ramp that expands.
Well, I'm talking from the what you've got noted as a sanctuary here, and where you have existing platform in your first floor plan.
That is going to have a ramp. There's a hallway going through there. Where the
Oh, I see it now.
Where
Sorry.
the library used to be. Yeah, there's ramps everywhere.
I
Yeah, there's
gotcha.
a ramp there. and then
I'm
we'll
sorry.
be-
Yep.
I
We'll make
was
sure the
looking
door
down
will-
below for the library. So.
Yep.
Okay, that's great. And then on the balcony, you do have an office there, and I think that's okay, as long as that's a private office.
Yeah, that'll just be.
There's two
And then
spots.
you have, on the opposite side of that, you have a balcony and stage media. What is stage media? Is that for?
There's a stage currently right now. That's part of why we are dropping the floor so that we can keep the stage. There will be a ramp up onto the stage so that, or is this, are you
What's
talking in the
your
loft area?
No, I'm in, by where the bell tower is.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're-
yeah, so that'll be for, just helping run stuff that's on the stage.
So it's a private area
Yeah,
too, it's not a
it'll
public area.
be employees only.
Okay, and then the balcony up there, what is that gonna be used for?
That'll just, you can rent it for a party
Or meetings.
space or, yeah, just a private room.
And
that
how
can
do
be
you
rented.
get, handicap access? to a wheelchair?
Yep.
I don't know that there would
That's
be
no way for
any
that.
feasible way to,
Can't do that,
So then we
that's against the
need private.
ADA. If it's accessible to the public. If it's a private area, or if it's a storage area, you can do that.
We'll have to keep it private. There's no way to get AD up there.
Because when the church was there before, we had some accessibility problems with that too. Just might have ruled out using the so. Okay, shouldn't just be aware of that.
yeah,
No, that's.
that's, yeah.
somebody turns you in, because you have public up there, it's a big fine.
Yep, no, it'll be private.
And the lift is expensive, so I'm not sure. You might want to just consider using that for storage. Wow. Okay. Materials look okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's an existing structure, so,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Uh,
actually, I mean, my personal opinions look pretty nice.
Yeah. Better than it does now, for sure.
Yeah, it'll look nice on the Third Street.
Yeah.
Be a nice addition. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to council, approval for the site plan amendment for 302 South Second Street, subject to staff and engineer comments and recommendations, dated May 11th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call, please, Jen?
Vogel,
Yes.
Reagan,
Yes.
Hankins,
Yes.
Bowersox,
Yes.
Sires,
Yes.
Olfest.
Yes.
Okay, good luck.
Yep.
Thank you.
Nice. And nice for the community.
Okay, we'll move on to number 7. Recommend the council approve the amendments to the future land use plan. You're our leader. Have anything you'd like to say?
Well, in your package, you should have had a memo, that I kind of jotted down the items, that I had taken notes on during the meeting, that were your proposed changes. And I kind of went through them area by area. Here. Area 1 was kind of this area that's south of Casey's and south of the Quick Lube place. You concurred with that being commercial. I was proposing that in looking at it a little more closely, I saw that the back part of that area was just not designated, but even though it's in the corporate limits, that's actually owned by the Corps, so I was just proposing to designate that as open space, but just to fill in that hole, if you will. Area 2, which is the corridor from Casey's to the square, you guys had concurred with the commercial strip. You had some concern about what the commercial strip would look like, phasing of the redevelopment, particularly if it occurred one home at a time, it may not be cohesive, and the potential impacts to the neighbors. And you desired that it be developed in a consistent manner. I had put a note down here just saying the area is suitable for this area is suitable for certain commercial uses, provided the impact to the neighborhood is minimal and it's in conformance with the master plan for South 3rd Street. So it gives you the opportunity to kind of develop a master plan before you start rezoning to commercial along that strip. So that's kind of just a note with 2 stars, which we kind of got those 2 stars there. We may repeat those, but that's what that's intended to be. Area 3 is this area up in here. I had showed that commercial along 3rd, adding mixed use north of Big Creek Technology Campus, which I'm showing here in purple. So the commercial it winds up being a little bit of an L shape, with the lower part of the L being the existing, what was light industrial before, and then extending that strip along 3rd up to where the mixed use was, and extending that mixed use down in that area back behind. This was the area here. I made the commercial. This is on the inside of 415. Those commercial areas are deeper now than they were before. I took a look at what Hy-Vee. These are kind of approximately the sizes that Hy-Vee had. Keep in mind that a land use plan isn't like a zoning map where it's a hard defined line. It's more relationships to give you an idea of what should be there. So, for example, it's a little narrower or a little wider. It's not. It doesn't require a comp plan amendment for kind of rezone. And then I showed high density residential behind that area. That has an asterisk saying it's also suitable for mixed use. So it could either be high density residential or mixed use in this back area. And then this area number 9 is the blue area that we talked about being light industrial for potentially for RV and boat storage type pieces. Let's see, area 6. Oh, right here. Oh, this just kind of realigning that the arterial, or I mean, I'm sorry, the collector street, and I guess you really didn't have any concerns on those minor changes. Really, that was driven by the topography on this ravine that runs along the north side of east-south side drive. Area 7, here you concurred with the commercial along Northwest 44th Street, added a new area 12, which is the high density on the back side of that commercial, kind of making it roughly the width that the mixed use had been to the north. And area 8 was here. Here I took this back to, and essentially retaining that as high density residential. So rather than switching that to commercial, showing commercial along the street frontages, and then adding this new area 11 for light industrial kind of on the back side there, so that on the major road that you're going to see commercial uses, and that the light industrial be available but not as visible to to that main node. And general adding the street names and area 13. Oh, area 13. Just in looking at the map, that's really just a cleanup item. That's right over off north of the square where Polk City Heating and Cooling is. Half of their property was somehow shown as if it was core ground, and I just showed their whole, just to be more accurate, showing all their property as industrial. So that's what I did. I think I got everything, and I had to go back and listen to the tape too, just to kind of make sure I caught everything, to make sure I didn't miss something in my notes.
Yeah, this really helped, having the written thing helped go through what you heard and
Yeah.
how it laid out, and appreciate that.
Yeah, a month goes by, and at least some of us can forget things. So I don't know if you have any further changes you want to make before it goes to council, or any further discussion. Feel free.
And I will let you know, council did, when they initially discussed this, they wanted so they'll have to set a hearing. And then they wanted the hearing set 30 days out. So essentially, if council were to set the hearing on Monday, they wouldn't discuss it at a hearing until the first meeting in June. That way we could publicly get the information out on the website. Say that this is the intention. So
And
we could
this
get
is
feedback.
not a rezoning, so is this just one hearing and one approval?
I mean, technically, code doesn't require you to have one, but because the city's been doing it consistently, since the original comp plan was adopted after a public meeting, we've just been, in order to be above board, the city has always done a public hearing for comprehensive plan amendments. Like I said, it's not Polk City Code or state of Iowa to have that.
Council made it clear they wanted feedback.
Yeah.
Public input and feedback. So that's why they're going down.
Any outreach meeting, like in the community center or anything? I mean, those are so difficult to get the word out.
Yeah, there's not. So I'm sure they'll talk about it at the meeting that they're setting the hearing and encourage it. And then I'll do some things from the website for the e-subscribers where it'll note, like, how it pops up an email. This is available on the website. So there'll be that.
We can put the plan out there too if you want.
Yes, that was
so that they can see
the
that.
proposed plan was going to be added. So that usually will stir some conversation.
I apologize for not opening the email you sent me my water bill, but is there
It's
any?
okay. Nobody else does either.
But is there any sort of update information that of upcoming events or anything?
You can if the timing fits.
Okay.
This potentially would work. It's possible.
Okay.
But it's all about timing because that bill only goes out this last business day of the month.
Okay.
So depending on what's going on, it might already have been passed, the event, or so we try to use it as a, hey, don't forget to license your pets. And
Well, first of all, I think that did a good job of summarizing what we had talked about. in going through all the areas, the only thing that I had that I thought could have been tweaked, and once again, as it is, the lines aren't firm, it just shows these are kind of in the area, is where what we were kind of talking about being boat storage area outside of Prairie Flower. I have driven by that a couple of more times in the last month, and kind of where we're showing it is kind of wooded, and does have a few outbuildings and things, whereas you get further south from where we're showing it, it's open farmland and might actually be easier for somebody to develop in the near term,
Okay.
for what it's worth. Yeah. And we're showing that being mixed use now as well.
Yeah, I mean, we could extend that if you like, down to where we're showing kind of a collector street going through.
Yeah.
We could take it that far.
Or even down to the low density residential.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
a clear fence line down there where some
Okay.
additional start, where we're showing the low density residential, so it is actually kind of buffered.
Okay.
And did anybody else take a look at that area at all?
I have
Yeah.
a question about it. Does our ordinance, I know we don't have it hardly, but does it allow outdoor RV boat storage, or is it all indoor?
It does allow outdoor, but it has to be on paved surfaces.
And it's buffer.
And buffered, yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, either one would have to be, you have a buffer, a landscape buffer requirement. With it being M1 next to residential, it would be a 50-foot buffer.
And it's medium density, high density, next to, what's next to it?
Well-
As far as residential,
The existing,
low.
right down to the south is low. So
But
if you
it's across
extended
the
it, if you
street.
extended it farther, you'd be up against, I mean, I think there's some houses here. I'm not sure if there's any on the north side. We did show some of, I don't think there's any homes
There's
An old
some
farmstead.
farm building.
Right on this side?
In a wooded area
On the north side, yeah.
side.
Oh, okay.
I they appear to be abandoned, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, so we were showing a strip of light, of low density on the north side of, I think it's still Lake Drive as you're going east, but I guess, no, that might be 90, no, I don't know what that name of that street. I'm gonna call it Lake Drive. I might have the wrong street name, but.
I think you're right, it is 90-something.
Yeah, I think it changes to 90-something here.
So somebody could build a single family home.
We're on the north side,
and,
yeah.
and back up to where the storage is, but there would be a buffer of 50 feet, you say.
Right, that's kind of why I was showing the medium density or high density wrapping around, but.
And there are some woods there on the residential, so I kind of think of it as the north side of Pine Ridge going to Hy-Vee, where you would have a residence that has some woods, and then you'd still have the buffer, which would be built on current farmland. So it would end up, I would hope, being well buffered.
So with our recommendation, this goes right to city council and then they can proceed, is that correct?
Mhm. Yep. Yeah,
Anything else?
just make sure that the recommendation either includes extending that light industrial down to this collector street, or if you want to extend it all the way to the low density, either way.
Other questions?
The only question that I had and we just haven't discussed it, is there any anticipation for additional civic space?
There's some anticipated clear here.
Is that the only thing that, at least in the longer term,
Yeah,
what we're thinking?
yeah, there was
Okay.
some thinking that there might be either, whether it was school or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, we didn't, that's as far as we ever got with them. That's really the only,
Okay.
that I think is the only new one. Obviously, at the time, originally had the area where the park is as a school site, which now is moved. So that was future. It just, it's happening now.
The lot at the top of the hill, is that, do we think that the city owns, is that going to be civic space eventually?
That was in the facility needs assessment to be yes, the answer to that question.
Okay.
Now,
Oh,
is
you're
that
talking
in
about
5
what
years?
I would call the Harvey
Third and
property?
Davis, yeah. It's, is that in 3 to 5 years or 10 to 15 years? I don't know, but yes, it's been identified as a potential future site for maybe a library, for instance.
And so the question is, should we show that civic on this map versus
Okay.
commercial?
Sure.
Okay. There's a few things that we need to include with the motion. Anybody need any help with that, or have Kathleen maybe repeat what she thinks needs to be in the motion? Is that helpful?
Yeah, I'm just curious, looking at that light industrial, if you extend it below where there's a proposed street, how many acres is that gonna be? Is that worth?
Well, and it's kind of been divided. The street, I mean,
Can move, but
street can move.
if you move it down any farther, you're gonna be right on
On
the
top
back
of the other
side.
street.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so you wouldn't front load your street.
Right.
So is it worth making that more light industrial if it would probably stop wherever that road is located?
And yeah, and I think if we went to the street, that would probably
Good divider.
would be a good divider. And if someone came in and said that they wanted it to go further south,
Probably be open to it the right
we'd
plan.
probably like to see where they're proposing the street actually going, and, you know, a bunch of other things.
Yeah,
This,
Right.
so getting back to it not being firm lines
Yeah.
or areas.
Mhm.
once it develops, it'll be leaked.
But at least I think that would get some, what I would call ag land available for development versus wooded land for where somebody's outbuildings are.
Developable.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. We're open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to council changes and an amendment to the future land use plan as presented in an amendment dated, I guess that's the date on that, I'm not gonna.
April 18th.
Thank you. April 18th, 2022. And in the lower right-hand corner of the map, it actually has 11/10/21. The map I'm looking at, with two minor changes to that. One, with the light industrial in Area 9 being extended down to the proposed access street. And second, in Area 2, where the potential for a future library would, or other civic use would be shown in that Area 2.
Okay, covered what
Yep.
you need to
Yep.
know. Okay, thank you for the motion and the second. We have roll call, please.
Prignitz? Yes. Hankins?
Yes.
Bowersox?
Yes.
Sires?
Yes.
Olfest?
Yes.
Volk?
Yes.
Okay. Item 8, reports and particulars. We have no liaison, we have no city manager. We do have staff, and they're shaking their head no. We do have commission, and they're shaking their head no. No,
I
it's
know.
too late.
I just have a question. We approved the bank last month,
Uh-huh.
and staff was going to work with them on finalizing the site plan. Is there any feedback as to how that ended?
Yeah, they did make the change to the site plan to show, and I don't have that with me, but to show a connection to Third Street. Has not gone to council because they are doing some relooking at their architectural elevations. And have not resubmitted, so it's not moved forward at their request. But the site plan part is fine, it's just building elevation.
Thanks.
So the architectural elevations have to come back.
It depends on, I guess, on how significant the changes are.
So you'll look at it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it and they haven't told me what they're thinking
As
about
long as they
changing.
meet our ordinance
Yeah,
codes, we're fine.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, well, obviously we'll check the percent brick, and I mean, that's really the main thing, brick or approved.
And do we know anything about Hy-Vee?
We do not.
Okay, they're still.
The last, well, they paused their grading and they were gonna stabilize the area, but that's the last I was told.
Oh, it's still a maybe?
Well, they have an approved site plan, but, I mean, until they, it's
Just
always
like
at the developer's discretion, right?
In reading the newspaper,
Yeah.
it's hard to know one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I just had a question about that. And kind of, when I saw them stop grading and stuff, I thought, and they were laying off the lawn.
Yeah,
And
and the next day then.
they can't hire enough people to really operate those facilities, but they're expanding in Kentucky and Tennessee and God knows where else, so hopefully that'll continue on. Okay, anything else? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
We make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 6:36.